I'm Leo Walder for Kit Guru, and this case here is the Silent White from GameMax. It's new in the sense it's white. The Silent, which was black, came out mid last year, I believe, but I never saw it. So to me, this model is new. If you already have a Silent, you will find this is the same, just a different colour. And the white is perfectly acceptable. It's got steel side panels, plastic front, and you have on the top this panel here which can replace the magnetic dust filter. So if you want to seal the thing off to make it quiet, you put this panel on the top. If you want to open up the top for ventilation, you put on the magnetic dust filter and all is good. This panel is noticeably a different colour to the painted finish, which is glossy white. This is very matte and a slightly different white, but in the great scheme of things, hey ho. The panel on the top, it has some sound deadening material in there, and the magnets are really strong, and indeed the true same with the dust filter. And that interests me in the sense that I've seen a couple of cases that have open tops and have said, goodness me, I wish they had a magnetic dust filter. This case has. And the thing is, this is a really cheap case. The Silent White has a retail price of £48 in the UK. Currently there are offers with it on sale at £44, which is stupidly cheap. So you might think for that sort of money you get no features whatsoever, and yet the fact is you do get some features. So obviously it has no window for a start. It does, however, have a stealth door which opens up the louvered front and two optical drive bays, and I can pull out this filter here for easy cleaning. The door has sound deadening material. I won't pull off the front panel because it basically remains tethered by some cables. The I/O's on the top, and also there are two fan controllers, I meant to show you those, which are here, two sliders, 3 positions. Each fan controller can handle 3 fans, so that's 6 fans in total. You only get the 1 fan as stock at the rear 120, and it's a very dull fan, so that leaves you the capacity to install up to 5 more fans, which in this case you're not going to do. So those fan controls will handle anything this case can take. This front panel is nothing particularly exciting. The mesh is quite fine, easy to clean. Great, what's not to like? If we turn around, we have 2 thumb screws which are not captive, and the side panels come off. They're quite hefty, more sound deadening material, and the same for the main panel. Like thus. The panels certainly seem to be ambidextrous. You can put one on either side, no problem whatsoever. And also we have a dust filter for the power supply. So all the basics are covered. And the construction and the design is very similar to my mind to various Fantecs and such like we've seen recently, also various Fractals, in that you have a compartment, you have a power supply cover, and you have there a couple of drive bays which have caddies for 2.5, 3.5s. And you also have a mount there for an SSD, and you can put the SSD elsewhere should you feel the urge. So realistically, you've got everything you could possibly want from a basic case. There we have the label which is attached to some wiring to say if you hook the fans up to the fan controller, don't also plug them into a PWM connection, because that'll just confuse the bejesus out of things. We have reasonable cable management. There are quite a few tie-down points for cable ties, anchor points. The power supply, as I say, goes inside a cover, so our Seasonic Prime Titanium is upside down and hidden away unless you look from this side. And as I say, the SSD is on the back. So in the main compartment, it's really neat and tidy. Now, I didn't put a liquid cooler in this build because I could have put an all-in-one in the front. The spec sheet says you can put a 240 radiator in the roof or the front. The fact is that there is not a lot of space in the roof. I'm not saying you cannot put something in the roof, but it would be a dead tight squeeze. If you're going to put anything in the roof, I'll be saying fans is about as good as it gets. But an all-in-one could well go in there, but why give yourself the harder time? On the other hand, all-in-one in the front, easy peasy, loads of space. A custom loop, and I cannot see many people buying a 44 or 48 pound case going for custom loop, although it crossed my mind. You've got to put the pump and reservoir somewhere, and that's not as easy as it might seem, because there is this space here, but mounts, you're going to be banging some holes through it unless you use fan mounts to mount a combined pump reservoir. It's doable. I would say it's definitely doable. There is a reasonable amount of space here, but you don't really need to. So let's just rattle through the hardware. We've got a Gigabyte X99 UD4 motherboard. I've got a Core i7-5820K processor. We've got some Corsair Vengeance LPX memory. The CPU cooler there is a Fantex PH12, which has dual 120mm fans, partly chosen because it's white and therefore it's a colour match. The graphics card is an MSI Aero GTX 1080, hasn't yet been water cooled, so that's it in stock form. It all makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously the build is completely over the top for a budget case, but it works really well. I expected almost nothing from this case. A budget case at this sort of price point seemed not exactly a joke, but somewhere in that territory, and it went together neatly. Getting the power supply in the power supply compartment, it's a little bit of a fiddle because there's not a lot of space in front of the power supply. Sorting out the cables, not too bad. Obviously, as it's panelled on both sides, I could have frankly just bunged it together and slammed it shut. But obviously I have to open it up to show the world, so I had to do a slightly better job than that. Cooling. I really did not think this case would be much cop. Just going by the price, there's no reason why looking at it wouldn't perform. So in a sense, that's slightly prejudiced to me. The CPU and GPU both idled at 30. The CPU under load went to 43. GPU, as I say, air-cooled 82, which is absolutely excellent. I mean, they're running at stock clocks. If I was to overclock the CPU, I'm sure it'd go hotter than that. And that Fantex cooler is a good one. But nonetheless, impressive going. I think the build came out looking good. It's neat and tidy. It's not a lot of grief. Everything worked as I would expect, if only life was so simple. So the GameMax Silent White, apart from the fact it's silly cheap, it to me lowers the floor price for budget cases. As far as I'm concerned now, £50 is actually not expensive, but you should expect something for your money for 50 quid. That's not like any old rubbish for £50. This is setting a new standard of budget cases. It impresses me. And the other thing I want to know is, when I started building PCs some while back, some of the basic cases were blooming horrible and also beige. Where was, all those years ago, a case like this? There is nothing particularly new about this design. It just works. Deeply impressed. Very, very happy. I'm Leo Woodard for Kit Guru. This is the GameMax Silent White.